Elias did not expect the Imperial Palace to smell like rain. He had imagined sharp chemicals, sterile metal, and cold air like the inside of a machine. Instead, the moment the shuttle doors opened, a soft mist touched his face. Somewhere beyond the towering walls, hidden gardens breathed out the scent of wet leaves. Light filtered through high glass arches, and the floor beneath his boots looked like black stone that had swallowed starlight. A guard walked in front of him, silent, except for the faint click of polished armor. Another followed behind. Elias kept his hands visible and his steps calm, even though his heart wanted to sprint back to the shuttle and lock himself inside. He was a maintenance worker, a station tech, the kind of person who fixed power conduits and cleaned sensor arrays, then went back to a small cabin and slept. He was not the kind of person who walked through a palace where every corner had a camera, every shadow had a watcher, and every breath felt like it belonged to someone else. Yet here he was. A voice echoed from a speaker built into the hallway walls. It translated into simple, crisp human language. Elias Venn. Confirm identity. Elias swallowed. Elias Venn. Earth Union Systems. Civilian contractor. There was a pause. The system compared his biosignature. A quiet chime followed. Confirmed. Proceed. The guard in front stopped at a set of doors so tall, Elias had to tilt his head back to see the top. The doors were not metal. They looked like layered crystal, milky and bright, with thin veins of glowing blue running through them like frozen lightning. The guard did not touch them. Instead, he stepped aside. The doors separated by themselves, opening with a sound like distant thunder. Warm air spilled out. Elias stepped through and felt his chest tighten. The chamber was wide and circular, with curved walls rising into a dome that showed the sky above. But it was not a normal sky. It was space, filled with stars, as if the ceiling was not a ceiling at all. Moons drifted across the view, and distant ships crawled like tiny sparks. In the center of the room stood a platform, with a medical cradle shaped like an open flower. Around it, alien scientists worked quietly, their movements precise. Their bodies were tall and elegant, with smooth, pale skin that shimmered faintly under the lights. Their eyes were dark, almost liquid, and their long fingers moved across hovering screens. Elias recognized the species from the news feeds. Veyeri, the same species that ruled the largest empire in this arm of the galaxy. The same species that most humans still spoke about with caution, as if the Veyeri could hear every word across the void. One of the scientists noticed him. A slim figure with a gold band across their chest stepped forward. Their translator projected a calm voice.
You are the human technician. Elias nodded.
Yes. I was told there's a malfunction in the medical systems. The scientist's mouth tightened slightly, as if the idea of a human touching Imperial equipment offended them. The systems do not malfunction, they said. They do not fail. They are struggling? Elias kept his expression neutral. Struggling how? The scientist hesitated. Then they spoke more quietly, like the room itself was listening. They do not read her. Elias felt the word settle in his stomach. Her. The Empress. Yet it never rinned so high. Whispers about a sudden call for human specialists. People had joked that the aliens finally admitted they needed duct tape and stubbornness. Others said it was a trap. Some warned him not to go, not even if they offered triple pay and a shuttle of his own. But when the official order came, it wasn't a request. It was a diplomatic command, wrapped in polite language. Assist the Veyari Empire. Special access granted. Refusal may cause political strain. Elias didn't have the power to say no. Now he stood in a room where the most feared leader in the sector might be lying just a few steps away, unseen behind a curved privacy screen. Elias cleared his throat. What do you mean they can't read her? Another scientist stepped closer. This one looked older, with lines along the side of the face and a gaze that felt heavy. "Our sovereign's condition is not understood," the elder said. "Our instruments provide patterns, numbers, warnings, but no clarity. It is as if her body speaks a language our machines cannot translate." Elias looked around at the advanced equipment. He saw a row of crystal tubes, a hovering scanner ring, and a console that was clearly built for hands longer than his. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked expensive enough to buy a small moon. And yet they were worried. Elias tried to focus on what he knew. Machines did not care about pride. Machines cared about signals, calibration, interference. "Show me the outputs," he said. The first scientist waved a hand. A screen shifted toward him, lowering to his height like it was reluctantly being polite. Symbols streamed across it. The translator offered a simplified version. Vital pattern unstable. Energy burden high. Neural resonance mismatch. Elias frowned. "This is not normal medical language." "It is the closest we have," the elder scientist said. Elias studied the numbers. He did not understand everything, but he understood enough to see the truth. This wasn't a normal illness. This looked like the body was fighting something that wasn't inside it. Like the problem was in the energy field around it. He had seen similar issues once. Not in a person, but in a reactor. A station on the edge of human space had suffered strange blackouts. The power core looked fine, but the field around it was unstable. The fix had not been complicated. They had adjusted the grounding, changed the flow path, and added a human-designed stabilizer that wasn't in the original alien blueprint. It had worked. He stared at the line that repeated most often. Neural resonance mismatch. Elias exhaled slowly. "Where is she?" The elder scientist looked at him carefully. "You will remain respectful." "I'm not here to be rude," Elias said. "I can't troubleshoot without seeing the patient. If the scanners are wrong, I need to know why." The first scientist's eyes narrowed.
Humans do not touch the sovereign. Elias felt a flicker of fear, but he didn't let it show. "I'm not here to touch anyone."
"I'm here to fix a system. Let me do my job." A soft sound came from beyond the privacy screen. Not a voice, not words. A breath. It was quiet, but something about it changed the air in the chamber, like the room itself had noticed. The scientist stiffened. The guard straightened. Elias's skin prickled. The elder scientist turned slightly toward the screen and bowed their head. "Sovereign," the elder said softly. From behind the screen, a voice answered. The translator caught it, and the room's speakers relayed it in human language. "Bring him." Elias's mouth went dry. The screen slid aside. He saw her. The Empress lay on the open cradle, not restrained, but surrounded by gentle light that mapped invisible lines across her body. She was taller than any human woman he had met, even lying down. Her hair, dark as space, flowed over the cradle like a shadow made soft. Her skin was pale but not fragile. It looked like marble warmed by a living pulse. Her eyes were open. They were not dark like the scientists'. They were brighter, with a silver ring around the iris that looked like a storm trapped inside glass. Elias had expected arrogance. Instead, what he saw was control. Pure, iron control. She did not look weak. She looked like someone who refused to be defeated even by her own body. And yet there was something in the way her fingers rested slightly curled in the tightness at the corner of her jaw that told Elias she was fighting pain that never fully left. The elder scientist gestured. "Approach, slowly." Elias took measured steps forward. He stopped at what felt like a safe distance. "Your Majesty," he said, carefully, forcing his voice steady.
I'm Elias. I'm here to help with the medical equipment.
Her gaze locked on him. It was so intense he felt like she could see every thought he tried to hide. "You are afraid," she said. Elias blinked. He hadn't expected her to speak so directly. He decided to be honest. Lying felt useless in front of that gaze. "Yes," he admitted.
"But I can still work." One of the scientists made a small offended sound, but the Empress lifted a hand slightly, silencing them without a word. "Honesty," she said, almost thoughtfully.
"Humans value it." Elias wasn't sure how to respond, so he focused on the screen. "May I review your scanner readings directly?" The elder scientist moved aside and allowed the console to tilt toward him. Elias leaned closer and studied it. The patterns spiked, dipped, then spiked again, like a wave trapped in a storm. He pointed to a section. "This resonance pattern, it's unstable. But your sensors are clean. That suggests the instability is coming from the source, not the device." The first scientist's eyes narrowed further. "We know that."
Then the question is why the system can't interpret it. That might mean your sensors are not designed for this kind of signal.
The Empress's lips pressed together.
Explain. Elias swallowed.
Humans and Veari have different neural rhythms. Your system is tuned to your species. If your condition changes your rhythm, the machine may treat it like noise. It might be missing the meaning. The elder scientist's posture stiffened. "Our machines are flawless." Elias looked at them. Flawless machines can still be tuned for the wrong frequency. Silence again. Then, unexpectedly, the Empress let out a small sound that was almost a laugh, but softer, like she hadn't done it in a long time.
You speak as if you were in your own workshop, she said.
Elias felt a strange rush of relief.
That's where I'm most useful. The Empress's gaze shifted to the hovering scanner ring above her. Then be useful. Elias stepped closer to the ring, studying the connections.
The system was partly biological, partly machine. He saw conduits that carried energy like veins. He saw a grounding path that ran into the floor. And he saw something odd. The grounding path split into 3, then recombined. That kind of design was common in Veari architecture, meant to distribute energy evenly. But if the patient's field was unstable, that split could create interference. He pointed. "This grounding split, why is it like that?" The elder scientist hesitated. "It is the standard Imperial cradle design." Elias nodded slowly. Standard designs fail when the situation is not standard. He looked around. "Do you have a direct grounding line available?"
A single path to the power sink? The scientists exchanged looks. The first one looked offended again, but the elder one moved to a panel and touched it.
A hidden compartment opened, revealing a heavy cable made of woven metal. Elias reached for it, then paused, glancing at the Empress. Permission to connect an external grounding line. Her eyes did not blink.
Granted. Elias took the cable, attached it to the cradle's grounding port, and connected the other end to the power sink port on the floor.
The screens flickered. For one moment, the resonance line steadied. Then it spiked again, higher than before. The scientists reacted, speaking quickly in their language. One reached toward a control, but the Empress raised her hand. "Stop," she said. The room froze. Elias stared at the screen. The spike wasn't random. It had a pattern, like the system was trying to stabilize but couldn't hold it. He frowned.
"It's closer," he muttered. The elder scientist leaned in.
"Closer to what?" Elias took a slow breath. Closer to matching something. He had a risky thought. He hated risky thoughts, but he also hated watching systems fail when a fix was possible. The resonance mismatch was the key. The machine couldn't interpret her signals because they were outside its expected range. Humans had broader tolerance in certain bioelectric frequencies. That was one reason human ships could interface with mixed alien tech more easily than other species. Elias had always thought it was just clever engineering. Maybe it was also biology. He cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, this might sound strange." Her eyes sharpened. "Speak. Your condition seems tied to an energy field your machines don't fully handle. Human nervous systems can sometimes stabilize unknown signals. If I could create a reference pattern, your machine might lock onto it," the first scientist snapped. "He is suggesting interference with the Sovereign."
"I'm not suggesting harm. I'm suggesting calibration."
The elder scientist looked uncertain. "What would you do?" Elias hesitated. The simplest way was also the most dangerous politically. "I'd need to place my hand near the sensor field. Not on her. Just close enough for the scanner to detect my bioelectric signature. It might help translate the signal." The room went silent again. Elias felt the guards watching. He felt the weight of the Empire's rules pressing down. Then the Empress spoke.
"How near?"
Elias swallowed.
"A few centimeters."
"The scanner ring is sensitive. If your field is reacting to something unseen, my signature might act like a stabilizing anchor." The Empress held his gaze. For a long moment, she did not speak. Then she said, "Do it." The first scientist looked shocked. "Sovereign! Do it," the Empress repeated, and the word cut through the room like a blade. Elias's hands felt suddenly too warm. He stepped closer to the cradle, careful not to bump anything. The scanner ring hummed softly above. He held his palm near the edge of the light field around her shoulder, close enough that he could feel a faint warmth radiating from her skin, but not touching. The screens reacted immediately. The resonance line dipped, then steadied. Elias's eyes widened. He didn't move, barely breathed. He kept his hand still, hovering. The Empress's body visibly eased. It was subtle, like the tension in her neck lessened, like her fingers unclenched by a fraction. A sound escaped her. Small, involuntary, a shaky breath. The scientist stared at the screens. The elder scientist whispered, "Impossible." Elias watched the line stabilize further.
"It's working," he said softly. The first scientist looked furious.
"It is coincidence, a false reading."
But the Empress's eyes half-lidded, and her voice came out quieter, strained in a way that made Elias's chest tighten. "The pain. Lessons!"
Elias felt a cold wave run through him.
This wasn't just a machine calibration. This was real. His hand was doing something the greatest empire's medicine could not. Elias tried to stay focused. "Your Majesty, I need to test a few variations." Small movements. She did not open her eyes fully. "Proceed." Elias moved his hand slightly closer, still not touching, just narrowing the gap. The line on the screen smoothed even more. The Empress shivered. It wasn't fear. It wasn't weakness. It was the body reacting to relief after years of constant strain, like muscles finally unclenching. Her breath caught, and her fingers curled slightly as if gripping invisible air. A soft sound escaped her lips, half gasp, half startled exhale. Elias froze, worried he had caused harm. "Are you?" began. Her eyes snapped open, bright and sharp again. But there was something different in them now. Not softness. Not surrender. Shock. As if she was surprised her own body could respond that way. She spoke, voice low and intense.
"Do not stop." Elias's throat went dry. In the chamber, nobody moved.
Even the machines seemed quieter. Elias forced himself to think like a technician, not like a man standing too close to a living legend.
"Okay," he said carefully. "I won't."
"I'm going to keep my hand steady. You tell me if the pain returns."
The Empress's jaw tightened, like she hated needing this. "Continue." Elias steadied his breathing. and held his hand in place. The screens showed stability. Not perfect, but better. The system's warning color shifted from urgent red to cautious amber. The elder scientists stared at the data as if it had betrayed everything they believed. Human bioelectric pattern. It is harmonizing, the elder murmured. The first scientist's voice shook with anger and fear. This cannot be allowed.
The court will... The Empress turned her head slightly and the scientist fell silent instantly. Do not speak of court, she said.
Her gaze returned to Elias's hovering hand. You are not trained for this, she said, voice steadier now. Yet you succeed. Elias swallowed. I didn't know I could. I'm just trying to help. The Empress studied him. Why? That question hit harder than the guards, harder than the palace walls. Elias answered the only way he knew. Because someone needs help, he said. And if I can fix it, I should. The Empress's expression shifted slightly, like something inside her paused to consider that logic. It was not a Veyari answer. It was too simple, too direct, too human. For a moment, Elias thought she might dismiss it. Instead, she closed her eyes again, as if allowing herself one breath of peace. The elder scientist stepped closer to Elias, speaking quickly but politely. Maintain position. We will record this.
Elias nodded, careful not to move.
Minutes passed. The resonance stayed stable as long as his hand remained in the field. When he pulled it back even a little, the line trembled and the Empress's brow tightened as the pain returned. Elias realized the truth. This wasn't a one-time fix. It was a link.
A bridge. And if word of this spread, he wouldn't just be a technician.
He'd be a political object, a tool, a threat, and maybe a target. Their hands rested near their weapons, but they weren't aiming at him. Not yet. Then a sharp alert beeped from one of the consoles. A security channel opened on a screen at the far side of the room. A symbol flashed in bright warning colors. Unauthorized access attempt. One of the scientists hurried over. Someone is trying to breach the medical chamber network. The elder scientist's eyes narrowed.
From where? The scientist's fingers moved fast.
Internal palace nodes. Someone inside the court network. Elias felt his blood turn cold. Internal meant someone close. Someone who knew the Empress was vulnerable. The Empress opened her eyes again. The relief was still there, but now her gaze burned with the old imperial steel. Lock the chamber, she ordered. The guards moved immediately. The doors thundered shut. A faint, shimmering barrier formed across them. Elias kept his hand in place, but his mind raced. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the idea of an assassin or the idea of nobles who wanted to control the Empress by controlling him. The elder scientist spoke urgently. Sovereign, your condition will not be used against me, she said, voice sharp. Not by enemy fleets, not by my own court. Her gaze shifted to Elias again. You will remain here, she said. Elias tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. Okay, he managed. The first scientists looked like they wanted to argue, but they did not dare. The Empress's voice softened by a small fraction, not kindness, but decision. You came as a worker, she said. Now you stand in the center of my survival. Elias's stomach tightened. He knew what survival meant to an empire. He knew what people did to protect it. The breach attempt grew stronger. Whoever was trying to enter the system was persistent. The elder scientist spoke quickly to the guards. Trace it, now. A guard nodded and moved to a console. Elias stayed still, his hand hovering, feeling the strange warmth in the air between his palm and the Empress's shoulder. He had never felt anything like it. It was like holding his hand near a power conduit, but softer, alive, shaped by emotion and pain. He glanced at the Empress's face. For the first time, he noticed how carefully she held herself. Every breath measured, every blink controlled. She had been living like this for a long time, carrying pain like a secret crown, and somehow, his simple human presence was easing it. Elias felt a strange mix of fear and stubborn determination. If the Empire thought it could use him like a tool, it would be wrong. Humans had been underestimated before. Humans had survived by refusing to break. The guard at the console spoke. "We traced the breach attempt to a court relay node. Someone is using a masked identity, but it is close. Very close." The Empress's lips pressed into a thin line.
"Someone wishes to know why my pain lessens," she said.
"And what causes it?" Elias's heart pounded. The Empress looked at him again, and for a moment her eyes were not storm silver. They were something else, tired, ancient, and fiercely alive. "You will help me," she said, voice steady. "Not because you are ordered, but because you chose to step forward."
Oh, yeah.
"I'll help," he said. The Empress closed her eyes again, and her shoulders eased slightly as the relief returned. Outside the sealed doors, palace alarms remained silent, but Elias could feel the tension rising like pressure behind glass. Somewhere in the palace, someone was already moving. And now, Elias was no longer a visitor. He was a secret the Empire would kill to protect, or kill to control. The stars above the dome ceiling drifted slowly, uncaring, but inside the chamber the first crack had appeared in the Empress's untouchable image, and the entire galaxy was about to notice. The chamber remained sealed long after the alarms faded. Elias kept his hand steady near the Empress's shoulder, careful not to move too much. The warmth between them felt strange but calm now, like a steady current instead of a storm. The machines around the cradle hummed softly, their lights shifting from warning colors to softer tones. The elder scientist watched the screens with wide eyes. "The stabilization continues," they murmured. "Her neural resonance remains within acceptable limits." The first scientist still looked uneasy. "This cannot be permanent," they said quietly. "Dependence on a human. The court will not accept it." The Empress opened her eyes slowly. She had heard every word.
"The court will accept what I command,"
she said. Silence followed. No one argued. Elias felt the weight of her authority settle over the room. Even in weakness, she controlled everything. He swallowed. "How long do you need me to keep doing this?" The elder scientist hesitated. "We do not yet know. The stabilization is new. We must observe." Elias nodded slowly. He tried to ignore the stiffness in his arm. He was used to working long hours fixing machines, but this was different. Here, every movement mattered. The Empress turned her head slightly toward him. "You are uncomfortable." "I'm fine," Elias said quickly. "You are not," she replied calmly. "But you continue anyway." Elias gave a small, awkward smile. "That's kind of how humans survive." The elder scientist stepped closer. "Sovereign, we recommend moving to a controlled recovery chamber. We must maintain the stabilization while improving monitoring conditions." She considered for a moment. Then she nodded once. "Prepare it." The scientists moved quickly. Panels shifted open in the walls, revealing a narrow pathway leading into another room. The recovery chamber looked quieter, filled with softer light and fewer machines. Elias hesitated. "Do I move too?" The elder scientist looked uncertain, but the Empress answered first. "Yes." He followed carefully as the cradle lowered and floated gently into the next chamber. Guards remained at the entrance,
their expressions unreadable. Once inside, the lights dimmed slightly. The atmosphere felt more private, less like a laboratory and more like a resting space. The cradle settled into place, and the machines reconnected automatically. Elias adjusted his position so he could keep his hand near her without strain. The screens showed her energy patterns moving in slow waves instead of violent spikes. The elder scientist let out a long breath.
Stability continues.
The first scientist folded their arms tightly. This changes everything. Elias wondered what that meant. For him, it meant less fear in the Empress's expression. For them, it probably meant political chaos. The Empress closed her eyes briefly, then spoke again. You will remain here as my assigned attendant. Elias blinked. Assigned? The elder scientist nodded slowly. Temporary designation. Under Imperial authority. Elias felt his stomach drop. That meant he wasn't just helping anymore. He belonged to palace rules now.
I didn't exactly plan to live in a palace, he said carefully.
The Empress's lips curved faintly. Few who enter here do. Despite everything, Elias let out a quiet laugh. The elder scientist began explaining monitoring procedures while adjusting settings on the console. They spoke about energy thresholds and neural harmonics. But Elias noticed something else. The Empress was listening to him, not just hearing him. Watching him. It made him nervous, but also strangely respected. After a while, the elder scientist stepped away to speak with the guards, leaving Elias alone with her for the first time. The silence felt heavy. Finally she spoke.
Why did you come when summoned?
Elias shrugged slightly.
I didn't have much choice. That is not the full answer.
He hesitated, then sighed.
I guess I was curious, too.
Humans don't usually get invited into Imperial medical chambers. Her eyes softened slightly. Curiosity is dangerous, so is saying no to an empire, he replied. For a moment, she looked amused. He noticed her breathing had become slower and deeper. The tightness in her shoulders was gone.
Is it really helping that much? He asked quietly. Yes, she said simply.
He felt relief wash over him. Good, he said. She tilted her head slightly. You do not seek reward? Elias shook his head.
I just want to make sure you're okay.
The words surprised him as much as they surprised her. She stared at him for a long moment, then looked away. Humans, she murmured, almost to herself. Before he could ask what she meant, the chamber door opened. A new figure entered, tall, dressed in elegant robes marked with symbols of authority. An advisor. The guards bowed slightly, but their hands stayed near their weapons. The advisor's eyes moved immediately to Elias, sharp and calculating. So, the advisor said slowly, the rumors are true. The elder scientist stepped forward. This is a controlled medical procedure. You were not granted access.
I represent the High Council, the advisor replied calmly.
I require confirmation of the sovereign's condition. The Empress opened her eyes, her gaze turning cold. You require nothing, she said. The advisor bowed, but the gesture felt forced. Your health affects the stability of the Empire. My health is my command. The advisor's eyes flicked toward Elias again. And this human? A technician, she said. More than that? The advisor replied quietly.
Already, whispers spread through the court. They say a human now holds the Empress's life in his hands.
He forced himself to stay calm. The Empress's voice sharpened. Enough. The advisor fell silent immediately. After a moment, the Empress spoke again. Leave. The advisor bowed again, deeper this time, then turned and exited. The door closed behind them.
Elias exhaled slowly. That felt...
Tense. It was, she said.
The elder scientist looked worried. The court will not remain patient for long. They will remain silent, the Empress said. Because they must. But Elias noticed something behind her confidence. Concern. Time passed quietly after that. The machines continued monitoring, and the stability remained steady. Eventually, Elias felt his arm tremble slightly. The Empress noticed immediately. "You're tired, She studied him carefully.
Humans are fragile compared to us. Hey, he said with a small grin, we're tougher than we look. That earned another faint smile from her. The elder scientist approached again.
We must test whether stabilization remains if distance increases. Elias nodded. Slowly, he moved his hand back a few centimeters. Immediately, the screen showed slight instability. The Empress's breathing tightened.
Closer, the elder scientist said. Elias moved his hand forward again.
The pattern smoothed. The elder scientist looked both amazed and worried.
The connection is strong. The Empress's eyes remained closed. Then we will learn to use it.
Elias felt a strange sense of responsibility settle over him.
Outside the chamber, footsteps echoed. Guards shifted positions. The palace was watching. He knew this was only the beginning. Because if the Empire believed he was the key to saving the Empress, some would want to protect him, and others would want to remove him.
The realization sat heavy in his chest, but as he looked at the Empress resting peacefully for the first time since he arrived, he also felt something else.
Determination. Whatever came next, he would face it. Because sometimes helping someone meant stepping into a storm you never planned to enter. And this storm had only just begun. The palace changed after that day. Elias noticed it first in the silence. Servants bowed lower when he passed. Guards watched him more closely. Scientists whispered when they thought he could not hear. He was no longer just a technician fixing broken systems. He had become something strange. A solution no one understood. The Empress's recovery chamber remained guarded at all times. Access required approval from her directly. Even high-ranking nobles waited outside, like strangers. Elias stood beside the cradle again, his hand hovering close to her shoulder. The stabilization field shimmered softly around them, almost invisible unless the light caught it at the right angle. The screens showed steady lines, not perfect, not fully healed.
But stable, the elder scientist studied the data with deep focus.
Her neural resonance remains synchronized with your bioelectric pattern. The improvement is consistent. The first scientist, still cautious, crossed their arms. Consistency does not mean permanence.
Elias glanced at them. Maybe not.
But it's better than before. The Empress opened her eyes slowly. She looked stronger than she had days ago. Color had returned to her skin, and her movements carried less strain.
You speak as if you expect resistance, she said. Elias shrugged slightly.
I work with machines. Problems always come back when you think they're solved. Her lips curved faintly. A wise expectation. She sat up slowly, supported by the cradle's shifting panels. The energy field flickered but held steady. Elias instinctively adjusted his hand closer. Her breath eased again. She noticed. You respond quickly, she said.
Habit, he replied.
When something breaks, you don't wait. She studied him quietly for a moment. Outside, footsteps approached the chamber. The guards at the entrance exchanged glances before allowing the visitors inside. 3 figures entered. Imperial generals, Their armor reflected light like polished mirrors, marked with battle symbols. They bowed respectfully, but their presence filled the room with tension.
Sovereign, the lead general said. We bring urgent news. The elder scientist stepped aside. The Empress straightened, her expression shifting instantly from patient to ruler. Speak.
A coalition fleet gathers near the outer border, the general said. Multiple species. They move slowly, but their trajectory is clear. Elias felt his stomach tighten. An enemy fleet arriving while the Empress was recovering was not a coincidence. The general continued.
They believe you are weakened. Silence followed. The Empress's eyes hardened.
Then they believe incorrectly. The general hesitated. We require confirmation of your readiness to command.
Her gaze sharpened.
You question me? No, Sovereign, the general said quickly. But rumors spread.
The court grows restless.
Elias shifted slightly, feeling suddenly exposed under their attention.
The general's eyes flicked toward him briefly before returning to her. The Empress noticed.
This human stabilizes my condition, she said calmly. That is all you need to know.
Understood. But Elias saw doubt in the man's eyes. After the generals left, the elder scientist looked worried. War pressure will increase. Stress on your condition. The Empress nodded slowly. Then we must strengthen the stabilization. She turned to Elias. You will assist. He nodded immediately.
Of course. The elder scientist activated a new interface.
We have analyzed the energy interaction further. It appears your nervous system acts as a harmonic bridge. It translates excess energy instead of resisting it.
Elias frowned. So I'm basically grounding the overload.
Correct, the elder scientist said. The first scientist added reluctantly, but your biological limits are lower than ours. Extended exposure may cause strain.
Elias shrugged lightly.
I've worked double shifts before.
The Empress's gaze sharpened. This is not a shift. He met her eyes.
I know.
For a moment, neither spoke. Something unspoken passed between them. Trust mixed with concern.
The elder scientist continued. We propose increasing synchronization gradually.
Controlled exposure may reduce dependence on proximity. Elias nodded.
Okay.
Tell me what to do.
They began testing different distances, hand positions, and energy patterns. Each adjustment produced subtle changes on the monitors. Sometimes the resonance improved, sometimes it worsened. Every time instability appeared, Elias instinctively adjusted, learning without realizing it. The Empress watched him closely.
You learn quickly, she said. I watch patterns, he replied.
Machines teach you to notice small things.
She seemed thoughtful at that. Hours passed. The tests ended only when a sharp alarm echoed through the chamber.
Not a medical alert.
A military one. The room's main display lit up, showing a star map. Red markers approached Imperial territory. The Coalition fleet had advanced faster than expected. The elder scientist spoke quietly.
They are testing your response.
The Empress stood slowly. The stabilization field flickered but remained steady as Elias moved closer. I will answer, she said. The first scientist protested.
You are not ready for full command strain.
She turned toward them, eyes blazing.
I am always ready.
The Elias hesitated.
Maybe we can adapt the setup.
All eyes turned to him. He pointed to the stabilization equipment.
If we create a portable field generator, something smaller, I could maintain the connection while you move.
Oh. The elder scientist's eyes widened. A mobile harmonic anchor.
The engineering challenge is extreme. Elias grinned slightly. Extreme is just another word for interesting.
The Empress tilted her head.
Can you build it? With help?
He said. She nodded once.
Then begin. The chamber transformed into a workshop. Panels opened, tools floated into position, and alien engineers joined the effort.
Elias worked quickly, combining human improvisation with Veari technology. He rerouted energy flows, simplified complex circuits, and replaced ornate designs with efficient solutions. At first, the alien engineers resisted his methods, but when the prototype stabilized a test field within minutes, their hesitation faded. The elder scientist watched with amazement. Your approach.
It ignores traditional symmetry. Symmetry looks nice,
Elias said, tightening a connection. But function comes first, the Empress observed silently, her gaze filled with something close to admiration. After hours of work, the device activated. A small field generator hovered beside her, glowing softly. Elias moved his hand near it. The resonance stabilized. The machine maintained the connection. He stepped back slightly. The stabilization held. The elder scientist breathed out slowly. Success. The Empress stood fully now, her posture strong. She walked slowly across the chamber. The device followed, maintaining the harmonic field.
Elias felt relief wash through him.
You did it, he said.
No, she replied softly. We did. The doors opened again as another officer entered, urgency in every movement.
Sovereign, the enemy fleet requests communication.
The Empress's expression became calm and cold.
Prepare the command chamber, she said.
She turned to Elias. You will remain close. He nodded, though nerves twisted in his stomach. They walked together through the palace corridors. Nobles and guards watched in stunned silence as the Empress walked upright, strength returning to her step. Whispers followed them.
In the command chamber, a massive holographic display showed the approaching fleet.
A figure appeared, the leader of the coalition.
Sovereign Empress,
the alien said with false politeness.
We heard you were unwell.
The Empress stood tall. You heard incorrectly. Elias watched the stabilization device glow steadily beside her. She continued, voice calm but powerful.
You approach my borders with hostile intent. Leave now.
The enemy leader smiled coldly.
We came to observe weakness. Then observe this, she replied.
She extended her hand slightly, energy rippling around her like controlled lightning. The stabilization held. The enemy's smile faded. After a long silence, the transmission ended. The fleet slowed. Elias's exhaled slowly.
Did that work? For now, she said. She turned toward him, eyes softer.
You stand beside me when others doubt, she said quietly. He shrugged.
You needed help.
She studied him deeply. And you give it without asking what you gain. He thought for a moment.
Maybe helping is enough.
Her gaze lingered on him, thoughtful and warm in a way no one else ever saw. Outside, the palace buzzed with renewed hope, but Iyalis sensed something else too. The court had seen her strength return, and they had seen who made it possible. That meant danger was coming, not from distant enemies, but from within. And this time, he would not just be a technician watching from the side. He would be part of the Empire's future, whether he wanted it or not. The command chamber remained quiet after the enemy transmission ended, but the silence did not feel peaceful. It felt heavy, like the air before a storm. Elias stood slightly behind the Empress, watching the holographic display slowly fade. The stabilization device hovered near her shoulder, glowing gently as it maintained the harmonic field between them. Even with the new technology, his presence still mattered. He could feel it in the way the energy around her reacted whenever he moved closer or stepped away. The generals spoke in low voices, analyzing fleet positions and defense strategies. Advisors whispered behind them, their eyes occasionally drifting toward Elias with curiosity, suspicion, or fear. The Empress turned from the display and walked toward a balcony overlooking the capital city. Elias followed without being asked. Outside, towering structures stretched toward the sky, glowing softly against the darkness of space. Ships moved like slow stars above the city, forming defensive patterns.
They came because they thought I was weak, she said quietly. Elias leaned slightly against the railing.
People always test leaders when they think they see an opening.
You speak from experience?
But yeah, on stations, if people think you're struggling, they either help you or try to push you aside.
And which did you do?
Help, he said simply. She watched him for a moment, as if weighing something deeper than his words.
You change the way my people see humanity, she said. Elias shrugged.
I'm just one die. One person can change history, she replied.
Before he could respond, the doors behind them opened sharply. The same advisor from earlier entered, accompanied by 2 more nobles. Their expressions were tense.
Sahra,
the advisor said. We must discuss the human. Elias felt his shoulders stiffen.
The Empress turned slowly. You speak as if he is not present.
He is the subject of discussion, the advisor replied calmly. The room grew colder.
What concerns you?
She asked.
The Empire's stability, the advisor said.
The court fears dependency on an outsider. Already rumors spread that a human controls the Empress. Elias opened his mouth to protest, but she raised her hand slightly, stopping him.
You misunderstand, she said.
He does not control me.
The advisor inclined their head slightly. Perception matters more than truth.
Elias felt anger rise, but he stayed silent.
The Empress stepped forward.
Then change the perception. How?
The advisor asked. She glanced briefly at Elias, then back at the nobles. By showing strength openly. The advisor hesitated. The enemy fleet remains near our borders.
If you appear before the Empire now, it could silence doubt, or confirm it.
Her eyes narrowed slightly. I do not fear being seen. Elias understood what she meant. A public appearance meant stress, attention, and risk to her condition. He spoke carefully. If we adjust the stabilization field and monitor your energy output, it might work. The elder scientist, who had entered quietly during the discussion, nodded. With preparation, it is possible. The advisor looked uncertain but did not argue.
Prepare the Grand Hall, the Empress said.
Within hours, the palace transformed. Servants moved quickly, lighting shifted, and the Grand Hall filled with nobles, officers, and representatives from across the Empire. Elias stood at the edge of the hall, feeling completely out of place. The stabilization device hovered near the Empress as she walked forward, her posture straight and confident. Whispers filled the air. She stopped at the center platform and turned to face them.
My people, she began.
Her voice carried across the hall, strong and clear.
You have heard rumors of my condition. You have seen uncertainty.
Today, you will see truth. 1. She paused. I am not weakened. I am evolving. The crowd stirred.
Our empire grows through unity, she continued.
And unity means learning from those who are different from us. Her gaze shifted briefly toward Elias. This human has aided me, not through power or domination, through understanding. Some nobles looked uncomfortable. Others listened with growing respect.
Humanity is not fragile, she said. It is resilient.
Adaptable, compassionate, traits our empire must learn to value. The hall remained silent. Then one noble stepped forward, clearly challenging.
Sovereign,
Are we to trust outsiders with imperial secrets?
We are to trust those who prove worthy. Elias felt every eye turn toward him. The noble continued, and if this human becomes a vulnerability,
Then I accept that risk.
because strength without trust is isolation, and isolation leads to collapse. The words carried weight. Slowly, some heads bowed. The tension shifted. After the speech, the nobles dispersed more quietly than they had arrived. The advisor approached again, their expression thoughtful instead of critical.
You have changed the narrative, they admitted.
I have told the truth, she replied. The advisor nodded once, then left. Elias exhaled deeply. That was intense. You remained calm.
I was trying not to faint.
He joked softly. He laughed. A real laugh this time. The sound surprised both of them. Later, back in the recovery chamber, the elder scientist reviewed the data. Your energy levels remained stable throughout the address. This is significant progress.
The Empress sat comfortably now, no longer confined to the cradle. Elias leaned against a nearby console.
So, what happens next?
She looked at him carefully.
The enemy fleet will retreat.
They sought weakness and found none. And the court? They will adapt. He nodded slowly. Silence settled between them. Finally, she spoke again. You have the option to return home. Elias blinked.
You're letting me go?
I do not command loyalty through chains, she said. He thought about his old life. Small rooms, quiet repairs, anonymity. Then he looked at her, at the palace, at the empire standing on the edge of change. I don't think I'm ready to leave yet, he said. Her eyes softened slightly.
Then stay. Not as a tool.
As an ally, he smiled.
I like the sound of that.
Days passed, and her condition continued improving. The stabilization device required less adjustment. She moved freely through the palace again, returning to leadership fully. The enemy fleet eventually withdrew, unwilling to challenge an empire that clearly remained strong. One evening, they stood together beneath the domed ceiling where stars drifted slowly above. The air felt calm. You changed my understanding of strength, she said quietly. How? I believed strength meant enduring alone, she replied. You showed me strength can mean allowing support. He considered that. And you showed me humans can matter on a bigger scale, he said. She reached out slowly, placing her hand gently over his. Not out of desperation this time, but as a simple gesture of trust. The energy field responded softly, warm and steady. No alarms sounded. No tension followed. Just calm. Outside, the Empire moved forward into a new era where humans were no longer outsiders but partners. And beneath the endless stars, a human technician and an alien empress stood side by side. Proof that sometimes the smallest connection could reshape the fate of entire galaxies.